Hi, everyone. It's Evelyn Ackah. Thank you so much for joining me on the Ask Canada Immigration Lawyer podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Steve Fretzin to our podcast. Welcome, Steve.
Evelyn, so thrilled to be here. Appreciate you.
I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. So let me go through your bio. Steve is the president and founder of legal coaching and business development consulting for lawyers. His company and his podcast is called Be That Lawyer. I've been a guest on the podcast and it's been such a thrill for me. Steve is a legal business development coach, which is very specific because lawyers do need help when it comes to business development. He's an author, founder, and president of Fretzin Inc., a Chicago-based company that focuses exclusively on helping lawyers grow their practices. With more than 20 years of experience coaching clients, Steve works with lawyers and attorneys across a wide range of practice areas, from solo practitioners to lawyers at large firms looking to develop their own book of business. He helps them improve their networking, build relationships, and marketing strategies and generate new business. Through his company, Steve provides services such as one-on-one lawyer coaching, law firm training, peer advisory groups, and strategic business development consulting designed specifically for legal professionals. As I mentioned, Steve is the host of Be That Lawyer podcast. Highly recommend you join and subscribe. It's a wonderful podcast. And he interviews lawyers and legal marketers and industry leaders about how attorneys can build successful businesses and have happy careers. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, that was a mouthful right
It
there.
was a good mouthful. It's very interesting. You've done a lot. You've done a lot. So I remember when I was on your podcast, I was like, you were asking me questions, and I thought, I want you on mine. How did you get into this? How did this occur? What was your
With a gun at my back. Apparently, I mean, I'm working with lawyers, so take it for what it's worth.
Seriously?
I'm a guy who started selling. I was selling like mowing people's lawns and babysitting and stuff around the neighborhood when I was a kid. And
Yeah.
I sold shoes when I was 16 at Kinney's, the Great American Shoe Store.
Yep.
And I got out of college with no other purpose than to go into sales and have a career in sales. And I moved up the food chain. I ended up in franchising, working around the country, around the U.S., selling franchises and supporting around 50 franchisees. And I really learned not just about selling high ticket items like a business, but also I had to support all of these franchisees in not only building their businesses, but maybe selling their businesses or maybe buying another one. And so I became more of a businessman in addition to just being a sales guy. And I knew at that moment that I was going to run my own business. It was just really a matter of what. And I also had kind of a weird thing with sales. I was always, felt bad about like the managers I worked for and the owners I worked for and how they kind of like, made you kind of throw sales down people's throats and kind of, like just really icky sales tactics and ways to like close business and just get it in, Fretzin, just get it in. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I want to be the nice guy that people like and want to like work with and everything. So I came up with a philosophy called sales-free selling. And I started my own business working primarily with entrepreneurs in 2004. And I had the pleasure of working in over 50 industries, really interesting different types of business, a Caribbean medical school, a local carpet cleaner, a website developer, an accountant, and all kinds of interesting stuff. And in 2008, when the recession hit, all of these successful owners that I had helped started referring their lawyer friends to me. And I think it took about 16 months and then blank let loose. And I found myself working with about 80% of my business was lawyers and law firms. And so I was talking to one of my clients about specialization. He goes, well, why aren't you specialized? And I was like, oh man, he's calling me out. I like, cause I'm like everyone, I'm an opportunist,
You're like niche, yeah.
Niche. So I said, all right, fine. And I made everything lawyers. And that's been 18 years. And it's been an absolute blessing because what lawyers don't learn in law school or at the law firm level, and combined with the fact that they all hate sales and never really wanted to be in sales, by learning a model like sales-free selling, where it's more relationship driven, more consultative, you're really not selling or pitching or convincing anybody of anything. It really made a great sort of fit. And so that's how I got pulled into this. And it's been an absolute blessing. I work with the most wonderful, smart delightful people in the world. And so I just every day I just thank my lucky stars that
Oh,
I
great.
did get into this.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you followed your passion and also listen to yourself because you're right. Like there are some people who feel like, sales is like car salesman and pushy, aggressive, calling constantly, all of that. And I think what you teach is I love that no sales is really the idea that it's about relationships and it's about being there, being responsive, giving value. When you first started working with lawyers, Steve, what surprised you the most about how they approach networking and building business?
Well, I mean, I think what surprised me most was when I would work with an entrepreneur or sales team or whatever. Like, if you can imagine a whiteboard that is just scribbled all over. I mean, you've got 5 or 10 different systems and things going on all at once because they had been through all these weird trainings and things that
Yeah.
that they had read and studied, and that was their profession, right? They had to be successful in getting in the business. And when I
Hmm.
started working with lawyers, what I found was that essentially it was just a clean whiteboard. Like they're like, I don't know anything. So I'm just out there. I have no system to follow or multiple systems to follow. I'm just winging it and just putting in the hours and hoping that things work out. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, that's not how we mean. Not only would I not practice law that way, I wouldn't towel off after a shower without a system, right? You got to
Yeah.
work top
Yeah.
down, T to B. So, it's like so they were really hungry for a system. And so, I think that again, that whiteboard that's totally clear allows me to
Hmm.
insert my systems in my language and the things that are proven into their world. And then they don't have to erase all that junk.
Yeah.
They just absorb it,
They
which is kind
start
of
fresh.
exciting.
They start
Yeah.
fresh. I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, as you said, lawyers, we don't learn sales, we don't learn business development, we don't learn even how to start a business. None of that. We learn the law and then we come out and we have to figure it out. And how do you get attorneys that you work with to kind of reframe their brains around what sales and business development is? Like, tell me a little more about the
Yeah.
no sales, because as I said, like sometimes people feel like it's like icky or it's
Yeah.
aggressive or it's like, I'll just sit and wait for the phone to ring. Like in this day and
Yeah.
age, that's, it's great. We get a lot of referrals, but you can't build a business on what could happen. You don't know.
Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
you develop that shift in mindset where they reframe sales from something negative to something positive?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it starts with just flipping their minds around. Hey, we're not actually selling. What we're doing, and lawyers are very comfortable with this, is solving problems.
Hmm.
There's a someone that has an M&A deal, or someone that has immigration, or someone that has a litigation matter, and you're not there to sell. What you're there is to uncover what's going on with them, where their
Yeah,
problems are, where their pain points are, and to see if you're a fit to help solve the problems that they have. And
yeah,
does it all align, and can you get a win-win outcome? So getting their minds wrapped around, hey, we're not actually salespeople. We're not actually going out to present, pitch, sell,
yeah,
convince anybody. We're there to meet people, ask questions, be an active listener, demonstrate understanding and empathy, and
mhm,
identify if there's a clear fit, right? And
yeah,
motivation. And and it goes a lot deeper than that, but that's the basis of it where it starts. The other thing is lawyers talk a lot. And the
yes.
reason they talk a lot, there's 2 reasons. One is they love to solve. They're like the best solvers in the world. Nobody solves quite like lawyers. And the
Mhm,
second thing is it's because they never had a system to follow that allowed them to ask questions. When you're asking questions, you're not talking, you're listening. And I think the
mhm,
80-20 rule, that Pareto principle applies
yeah,
here. And that's sort of new to them. So the easiest way for me to get through to a lawyer to digest this is prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. And I have some
mhm,
pretty crazy, examples of that. So I just recently hurt my arm. I went
yeah.
into the doctor's office. The doctor took one look at me, said, "What's the problem?" I said, "Hurt my arm." He says, "No problem." And he took out a machete. And I was like, "So what are you going to do with that?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to cut your arm off." And I said, "Well, wait a second. I like my arm. It's useful."
Mhm,
That was a prescription without a diagnosis, right?
yes,
And malpractice.
yes,
So
yes.
we're trying to slow lawyers down from the pitch. We're trying to slow them down and say, look, you can follow a process that not only will deepen the relationship, allow you to control the meeting, allow you to ask questions, understand, demonstrate empathy and all that. But then
Mhm,
when you do eventually solve or help or present, you know exactly what to solve and present because you've let them basically tell you everything they needed to tell you to prepare the better presentation. It's
Oh, I
usually
love that.
25% of what they think it is. So there's a
Yeah.
number of things that I insert that really flip the switch for a lot of the attorneys I work with, that there's a better way.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that more and more lawyers are looking for, professionals like yourself because we know what we don't know. And I think if people are out there acting like they know, they're going to make a
Hmm.
lot of mistakes. I think before I started working with professionals like yourself, I made all the mistakes like everybody makes, and they're expensive mistakes. And so you're
Yeah.
stopping that from
Yeah.
before they go down that rabbit hole. What is one example, Steve, of a simple action lawyers can take that will lead to that stronger long-term client relationship? I love that you work not just for solos, but also even people in big, big firms that are trying to create their own book of business. What is like one
Yeah.
example of a simple action that lawyers can do
Yeah.
to kind of build stronger client relationships?
So it's so funny that you asked me that particular question. I'm on a call, an hour and a half ago with one of
Mhm.
my best rainmakers. His name is Casey. He left a big firm to go to a smaller firm, and then what he did was he kept in touch with all of his big firm friends and
Friends,
partners.
yep,
They
yep.
all left the big firm and they all went in house. And what he
Ah,
did is he stayed in touch with them. He dripped content on them. He stayed in touch with them with lunches and coffees and all this. He just got like, I mean,
great.
it could be $1 million deal because he kept in touch with someone literally over 7 years with nothing to show for it for 7 years. And now the floodgates have opened and he's going to end up with
Wow.
all this business. Now, some people would say, well, I'm not waiting 7 years to get business. Keep in mind, there's some business that happened, month one. There's some business that happened month
Yes.
three. It's dozens and dozens of people that he's dripping on top of.
Yep.
Some happen now, some happen later down the road. But the point is that he recognizes that by staying in touch with your law school friends, your law school
Yes.
colleagues, your strategic partners, and your clients, and adding value for them over time, you're the
Mm,
one that's doing that, and the other lawyers aren't. And so
yes.
that's why they're going to come to him versus anyone else. And that's why he's got such a big book and he's more focused on business
Amazing.
development than,
Than even
billing
practicing
hours.
law. Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
that's where the real value is. And one thing I learned, I mean, I've worked, at big firms and I remember as a senior associate, the whole issue was you're as valuable not just for your hourly rates or what you're billing, but for me, I really focused on marketing myself within the large, national law firm from coast to coast. And so that the people
Yeah.
you work with know what you do. And what was so valuable was being able to, like, when I was done, I had built my own practice and I was able to just portable and move it and go and start my own firm. And so I think that people don't always think when they're in a big firm about the importance of being a business developer. They're just being
Yeah.
fed from the top down. But I think for junior and mid-level associates, they have to start thinking like, this is my own little practice, right? And
Yeah.
I'm here to market to my own colleagues, just like you said, my friends, people I went to school with, but even my bosses, people across the firm because those are the ones that give you those opportunities. What about client retention? I know that you also work on that because some files, like with immigration, will have the work permit, then permanent residence, and citizenship. And you have this long, it could be 5, 6, 7 years, and then the referrals from them. But how do you focus your clients on how to retain clients, not just do the one off?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fantastic question. The old saying of like, what is client loyalty? Well, if you give them a
Hmm.
fair rate and you do good work, they'll stay with you. And
Yeah.
it's just absolutely not the case. That is a myth.
Mm,
In today's day and age, there are lawyers and law firms that are hitting up your clients all the time. So
yeah.
you have to be someone they can't leave. So how do you do that? Number one, you got to be a great lawyer. If you suck at that, you're out.
Yes.
But if you're a great lawyer and you've gotten great results, the best that can be achieved, that's like table stakes, right? That's the
Hmm.
beginning. Then what I do is I also practice what I preach. When I work with my clients, I give them so many connections, so much content, so much above and beyond what they expected from me that
Hmm.
in the depth of our relationship, we become very close friends. So I would
Yeah.
say, building a social relationship, that's one thing. Another is the giver mindset. So you think they
Yeah.
just want, the matter done and they want the work done. Ask them, what else can I help you with? I've got a big network. I've got lots of resources. What else do you need? Well,
Mhm, mhm.
Steve, my daughter's trying to get into, Harvard, and I'm struggling to help her get there. Well, look, maybe you know someone. Maybe you can pull a string.
Mhm.
Maybe you can at least make an effort. Okay. From a
That's great.
personal and from a business perspective, what can you help somebody with that is adding value to the relationship and to their life?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how are you providing content? Maybe you're presenting to that GC and that GC's group on some new laws that are happening, or what's changing in AI, or what's changing, because employment law is always changing, and you got to stay on
Mhm.
top of it, right? How are you making them better as a team?
Okay.
So it's really about that extra mile, that extra that most people don't think about, and don't make it a part of a like a client. I would call it like a client loyalty plan.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean you have to spend millions of hours. I think if you've got 5 or 10 really top level clients, we'll call them A's, they get the
Yep.
bulk of your attention. And then you've
Yep.
got some smaller matters and some nice clients. Those are B's. They get a little bit less, but they're still getting your attention. And then
Mhm.
maybe the C's are getting newsletters from you. They see you on LinkedIn. You meet with them once a year. Like, there's ways to
Yeah.
do it where it doesn't have to take up all your time. But most lawyers struggle with follow up and that loyalty piece.
Yep.
Having a plan that assures that you get it done and that you're doing the right things for your clients, that's gonna pay big dividends when someone goes to steal your client and they go, I wouldn't leave Evelyn in a million years for any reason, right? And
Yep.
so
Yep.
that again, that wasn't just because you helped them on a matter.
No, that's true. And I think I always feel like, your clients become your personal relationships. Often they're my friends. You go
Yeah,
through life events, they have babies, they get married, we send this, we talk about life. It's not just the business side of it. I love it when clients will say, "You're not like lawyers that I know. You're not like any lawyer I know." And it's been like that for a long time, but I really appreciate that because it's like I care. I want to know what's happening and how are their kids and keeping track of what sports they do and what's going on and what vacations they went
yeah,
on and all those things. So let's talk about networking because I was just saying to you earlier that I was attending an event this morning for professionals, and he's like, you walk in and there's always this like, how can I make the best use of that opportunity to walk in? Sometimes
yeah,
even for me, they can feel intimidating. We had government officials and things like that there. What are a few things that lawyers or any business person can use when they're networking with people face to face, not just on
yeah.
Zoom?
Sure. Well, and I talk a lot about this, like a story, right? Every
Mhm.
good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. I know what happens when my wife comes down and I'm watching something and she's 20 minutes late, and then the questions start coming in. Who is
Yeah.
that? And why does he hate her? And what's going on there? And I have to hit pause and take her back. In networking, we want to make sure that we have some planning elements before we attend. That could be
Mhm.
the attendee list. That could be a communication with the person running the event to find the lay of the land, ask some questions. How are we, what are we preparing? Our infomercial. What are we
Yep.
trying to accomplish? What do we want to get out of it? What questions are we going to ask? Then when we're there, that's the middle of the story, and that's the execution. How are we
Mhm.
executing to meet new people, to get moved around the room in a way that's going to be productive? How do we qualify that we should keep talking to someone more than 5 minutes, or maybe we should cut
Yep.
bait because they're just trying to sell us life insurance and we have life insurance, and or do we want to be sold at a networking event? So
Yeah.
we need to have some ways of exiting, and then there's the last piece of the story, which is the ending or the follow up. We have a number of people we met that are quality that we should be meeting with for coffee after the fact. And then we
Mhm.
don't. We just let those cards get stale on our desk and we don't follow through and we get busy. Well, that's
Mhm.
the end of the story is not it's not a happy one. So
No, it's not.
having some good planning, execution, follow through, really, really important. I mean, I'll share one thing that
Yes.
when you're in the meeting, one of the greatest things you can do is ask questions. Like, find out what brings that person there. How long have they been a part of the group? What type of business are they in? What are they trying to
Yep.
accomplish this year? What are some of the challenges they're having in accomplishing that? It may be that they need your help. It may be that they need other resources, but you're learning things that can help you pay it forward and start showing and demonstrating that you're a giver, that you care, and
Yep.
that's a great way to start a relationship versus pushing cards and pressing flesh. And
Hmm.
People are just are really sick of any kind of salesy approach in a networking thing. There
Yeah.
really needs to be a system that you're using to be successful with networking and everything. Otherwise, it can come across insincere, or it can come across, again, just you're just wasting time, just kind of moving around a room, and maybe I'll just get
Hmm.
out of here. This isn't for me, and then you just leave, and you're like, what was that
And you
for?
just
You
wasted
know?
all that time. Yeah, I mean, I think I
Yeah,
love that
yeah.
you mentioned like the Go-Giver because I love Bob Berg and his books and that whole mentality that it's about giving as opposed to giving to get, or what you can get instead of being somebody who's forward-looking and trying to be proactive and just authentic. People can smell inauthenticity, I think. And so
Hmm.
the people that I think have the most success usually are just authentic people. They care, they go above and beyond. Um, I'm interested by your coaching. Like, what are you seeing that lawyers should be doing now in this day and age, that they weren't doing 10 or 15 years ago? Or any business owners, like, yes, we all have websites. Yes, we're all on social media. But what do you think is different now? That people should be really paying attention to that they're
Yeah.
not, that you don't see a lot of people, except maybe your clients, that are really doing.
It's we're living in an interesting time. Up is down, down is up. The world is
Mm-hmm.
uncertain. I mean, there's just nothing that we can count on. And so
Yep.
what we want to count on is ourselves. And so what does that mean? It means you can just keep your head down as an entrepreneur, as a lawyer, and just deal with what you have in front of you. Billable hours, doing other lawyers' work,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. Or you can say, look, the world is uncertain. I need to step up and take care of myself. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
For most lawyers, they understand at this day and age, if you don't have your own clients, if you don't have your own book of business, if you're not producing for yourself and for the firm, you're at the whim of everyone else. And that's
Yes.
really an unsafe place to be. So control, freedom, independence, lateral moves, solo move, your firm goes under, your firm gets bought, your hours drop,
Mhm.
whatever it is, you have to be in control. So I would suggest that number one is we all need to become a student of the game of business development and networking and take
Yeah.
action. And lawyers more now than ever. I'm seeing them come out of the woodwork and saying, "Look, I've been kind of kicking this down the line a while, and I'm
Hmm.
finally at a point where I see what's going on. My eyes have been opened, and if I don't get my
Yeah.
act together, this could end up badly." Okay. The
Especially
other thing
thinking,
is,
oh,
yes,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go
I was
ahead.
just going to add the other one is AI, but who wants to talk about
Yeah.
that?
No, no, go
That's
ahead
not
with
going
that.
anywhere.
It's not going
Uh,
anywhere.
I just was going to add, in addition to like business development and marketing and branding and building your own base of business, whether you're
Hmm.
again an entrepreneur, having a bigger stable of clients and protecting yourself. The other thing is you need to start playing around with AI. You need to start
Yeah.
getting comfortable with it. It's like the people who are late to the game in LinkedIn, or the people who are late to the
Hmm.
game in how to use and leverage email or whatever. This is something that there's going to be the people who play with it now, become a regular user, start to
Yeah.
get advanced with agents and getting things done. They're going to be the efficient people that are going to get a lot more done and be ahead of the curve than everybody that's just like, well, I don't really like AI, and I'm doom
I
and gloom
totally
about the whole
agree.
thing. Yeah.
Totally
So those
agree. I
are
mean,
those are
that
kind
was,
of the two main things I
those are
would put
big.
out there that I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are really big. Like for me this year, the whole firm when we had our annual retreat was AI. I want everybody to be trained, to be proficient, to see how they
Yeah.
can improve their own jobs, not to take their jobs, but to help them do their jobs better and more efficiently. And that is like a core value this year that we have to all do. So I think it's great that you mentioned it. One thing I was thinking about, I was at a conference recently of lawyers, law firm owners, was around how in the States, law firms are being owned and bought by non-lawyers now in different
Mm-hmm.
jurisdictions,
Yeah.
and so that's a whole nother challenge that is coming
Yeah.
up where, venture capital is moving in and buying, acquiring, partnering. And so lawyers are needing to think differently. Have you seen any of that yet? I mean, I know it's early days. Have you
Yeah.
have you experienced that or having to start
I mean,
thinking
I
about that
haven't
for clients?
seen. It's not. I mean, it's happening, and like I know, not Deloitte. It was another.
Hmm.
is it
Accounting firm.
FGMK or KPMG?
KPMG, yeah.
They're getting into legal space, right? So
Yeah.
now you're a law firm in Arizona and you're now competing against KPMG, who
Yeah.
knows everything about how to run a successful business and how to dominate in their space. And now they're in your space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have people that are heavy into marketing that have been getting leads for lawyers for 20 years and now they have their own firm. Well, they're not going to be giving you leads. Those
Yeah.
leads are going to go to their firm and they're going to build their own thing.
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at the potential death of the billable hour, or at least the reduction of it, you look at AI, you look at competition, you look at more people are going to go solo and build small firms, and then on top of that, non-lawyer owned firms. There's a lot going on, and a lot of antennas that should be popping for lawyers to just kind of to lift their head up off their desktop and look
Mm-hmm.
around and say, look, the way things are today, I'm fine. The way things are tomorrow, I don't know. And maybe I need to start preparing for tomorrow.
Yeah, and how to insulate yourself, like honestly. And also in Colorado, I mean, there's a lawyer that I was talking with who's from that jurisdiction, and these things are happening, not just in Arizona. And we're not yet there in Canada, but I wouldn't be surprised, that's next. So I feel
Yeah.
like we as business owners are always needing to think about what's the risk management, perspective. What else can we do? What else can we offer that's going to be setting us apart before these VCs come in and kind of buy up everything and then we're
Yeah.
retired. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of times lawyers say, I'm just too busy to kind of do that. So it's like this cycle of I do some business development and then I don't, and then, oh, I don't, and then I'm up. And then you must see that all the time where it's just like you put your head
Yeah.
down, work, and then you look up and you're like, where's the work? Because I finished the work that I had. How
Well,
do
you're
you
talking about
juggle that?
the roller coaster ride,
Yeah.
right? Lots of
Yeah.
lots of work or lots of effort to business development. Then I stop, and
Yep.
then it goes down, and so they're on
Yep.
this
It's
big
not
wave.
sustainable,
Um,
right?
it's not, and something that I really that I again I'm one of these types of people that refuses to coach or teach or dictate to people things that they should do that I haven't done. Right?
Yes.
I have to be the example. Otherwise, I will 100% feel like a hypocrite. So I became an expert in time management about 20 years ago when I recognized, I've got stacks of business cards, stacks of
Mm-hmm.
files, paper everywhere, 1,500 unopened emails, and the list goes
Oh,
on and on. And I
yep.
said, look, this is not sustainable. I'm a feather on the wind. I'm blowing this way and that way. I've got to get organized. So I really studied time management and some of the top books and top players in that space, and got myself together, really.
Good.
All right.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been teaching lawyers time management, how to reduce their inbox, how to manage their day, how to say no to things,
Yes.
right? And then how to automate. So like I have the auto scheduler, so I'm not going back and forth with people. That's the basics line of what
Perfect.
people should
Yeah.
have.
Of
I now
course.
have an automated email like Jace AI that I'm using that allows me to automate responses to emails. And people
Excellent.
would say, well, how does it know what to respond and how accurate could that be? Well, let me tell you, it's read every email I've ever received and it's read every email I've ever sent.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty accurate that it knows my writing style because it's
Yep.
read and sees everything I've ever done. So
I
when
love
someone
that.
responds and they want to be a sponsor of my podcast or they want to network with me or whatever,
Mhm.
I look at the auto response. I'm like, yep, that's it. Send. So
Yep.
that's 5 minutes times 30 times a
Oh,
day or
yeah.
whatever. So, we need to start thinking about how do we, like I say, become a student of the game of business development. I don't think time management is off the table, and learning how to let go and automate things and delegate things. That's really
Mm-hmm.
at the heart of what lawyers need to do and anyone needs to do to be successful today. Otherwise, you're just going to be, kind of buried in the minutia.
Totally. I love that you mentioned that. Like, I started using something called Seraph AI, which again, because I do have I have an assistant, a virtual assistant who's amazing, and knows everything. But the inbox is crazy, and the calendar is crazy, and so it's like just that extra little bit of support to help drafting responses. And once you train it, it's amazing. So that in
Mm.
alone is just like so you can focus on the real high quality work, the client stuff, not just all these potential things, but the things that are actually going to convert or that you already have to do. And I love like a calendar link and just getting people to schedule on their own. I really feel like lawyers and all business people need to just, as you say, looking at technology and systems as a friend and not a replacement. It's something that can help us. But I think delegation, I just want to quickly ask about this. Big issues for lawyers. Usually we're very control oriented because we know the risks out there and bar associations and all of the things. How do you train and teach and guide your clients to really delegate with sense of confidence and not this, have to do everything by myself?
Yeah. Well, there's an underlying question, which is, what do you enjoy doing and what's your area of brilliance and what are
Mm-hmm.
you getting paid on that? And if the
Mm-hmm.
answer is, immigration work and it's 500 an hour and it's this and it's that, and then, what do you not enjoy and what are you not making
Yeah,
money on? And there's all these other things that you would write down if you're
exactly.
keeping track of all this. And then, it may not be something where you have to do it all at once, but maybe start looking at what's really eating up your day and your week most that you just dread. It could be bookkeeping, right? Chasing after money and invoicing
Yeah.
and bookkeeping. Maybe it's the fact that you're in your inbox for 7, 8 hours a day, and there
Mm.
could be someone else in there, clearing out the clutter and responding to basic stuff, or an automated tool like I was speaking of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and ultimately, you need to sort of like separate priority and where the money is for you and where your brilliance is from all these other things, and then slowly start chipping away and moving things out and finding good talent. That's really
Yes.
important. You got to
Yes.
have trust in the talent. And if you don't, and that's why, people try to like, again, figure it all out. Hire a company that will help you recruit a VA.
Hmm.
I try to, hire a VA on my own, worked out a little bit, but maybe not forever.
Yeah.
But when you have someone do it for you, they really get you, they get the connection, how to put it together. Maybe there's a guarantee, right? Maybe
Yes.
they background check,
Training.
they reference check, they do all
Hmm.
these things that you just don't have time to do. And
Hmm.
oh my God, it's going to cost you money. Oh no. Well, if you did the math on how much money you're wasting doing everything yourself, trust me, it's
Totally.
even the recruiters that charge, you know,
Yeah.
25% of a salary,
Hmm.
people freak out about it. And I get it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money on a
Yeah.
$200,000 a year lawyer. But what does it cost you to not have that lawyer, right? Could be
Of
making three or
course.
four times what they're costing.
So this has really been great, Steve. So tell me, what is the ideal lawyer attorney for you? Do you have like a
Yeah.
certain, so that if people listening to this or they have family members listening to this and they're like, oh, I have a family member that needs your expertise. Is
Yeah.
there a range? Is there a level of experience already that they need to be at? Brand new lawyer versus a senior lawyer. Do you have an ideal kind of
Yeah.
client profile?
Well, I hope I do. Otherwise, I'm in trouble with running my business. But I'm going to give you three categories. Number
Okay.
one is highly ambitious attorneys from big law down to solo that
Yep.
are just not looking to figure it out anymore. They need a coach and a trainer and someone that's going to give them all the proven methodology so that they can double, triple, quadruple their books. I work with about
Yep.
20 lawyers a year in that program. So that's
Okay.
one. Again, highly ambitious,
Yeah.
motivated attorney. Second is managing partners and top rainmakers. I put into my peer advisor groups called the
Okay.
Rainmakers Roundtables. Could be
Okay.
managing a 50-person
Wow.
firm. I mean, if you're managing a 2,000-person firm, I don't think this is the group for you. But if
Yeah.
you're a rainmaker equity partner that wants to be in a confidential environment with 10 other brilliant people
Hmm.
talking about growth, that's a great deliverable. Now, on April 15th, I'm launching the Be That Lawyer community. I'm kind
Oh,
of making
cool.
that announcement here for the first time
Yay.
anywhere. This is for the community, not only my community, but the legal community. So
Okay.
the junior associates, partners, anyone that wants to get my content, my resources. They want to network, they want to ask questions, they want live events, they want coaching sessions with
Cool.
me in a group atmosphere. All of that and more happening at a kind of a very low price point
Hmm.
because it's a subscription model.
Okay.
That's launching April 15th to the masses.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah,
I love to
covering all my
add
bases.
Oh, I love it. You covered them all. Well, I think you and I will have to talk too to see what I need, because I'm always trying to keep myself on track. And that's the one thing I think for lawyers, we're always a little easily distracted. What do they say? The shiny new thing, it's like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I want
Shiny
that.
penny syndrome.
And it's just like having somebody who's going to coach you to be like, focus on what you said your
Yeah,
business plan was for the quarter or whatever. So I think what you're doing is so amazing and it's so necessary. You probably saved a lot of people a lot of time and wasted money trying to figure it out on their own as opposed to having a
yeah,
system that works, that's proven.
yeah.
So I want to thank you so much, Steve, for being here with us. And I'm looking forward to continuing to follow your podcast, Be That Lawyer, and all the coaching. And all the information about Steve Fretzin will be available in the show notes. So for listeners, if you can reach out to Steve directly with any questions, if you are a lawyer that's starting out or a seasoned lawyer like myself who may need a little bit more coaching and to get back on track with goals for 2026, feel free to reach out to him. And I'd like to thank you so much, Steve, for joining me on our podcast. It was
Pleasure's
great.
all mine. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so much.